Hi, I'm Gary and welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to show you how I make a slimline pen. Now, there's probably a million videos out there on how to do this, but maybe the way I do it will help you. Now, back when I first considered starting to make pens on the lathe out of wood, I was quite bewildered on how to do that. I just couldn't imagine how it was done. I thought it would be really difficult. But as I got into it and I found out how easy it really is to do this, and a lot of other things too. So I hope you enjoy this and learn how to do pens. Okay, this is a Slimline Pen Kit. This one is called a PK PENSAT for Pen Kit Satin, because it's a satin finish. And it comes in this Ziploc bag with all the parts in it. No instructions included. You'll have to download it online. But all the parts come in it. A lot of them are wrapped up in individual little bags here for protection. Then you have your pen refill, a couple of brass tubes, and the transmission. As this is a twist pen, the transmission is what makes the pen extract and retract. So I'll take all these parts out of these bags here and lay them out and put everything in order of assembly so you can see how this goes together. Okay, so I have the parts laid out here in order, and the way it starts out is we have the tip of the pen, have the first barrel, the transmission that the pen refill will go into, and this gets pressed into this barrel once we got all the body assembled here. This is a center ring for the twist pen, then the upper barrel, and then the body will be around this. Pocket clip, and then the end cap all goes into there, hold it all together. A body that I picked out, or some material I picked out, is some black walnut. It's got some interesting stuff in there, colors. I'll see how that comes out. Hopefully it'll look good. But you got to pick out material that's at least 5/8 inch square minimum for doing the slimline pen. Then what I did is I cut these into two pieces to fit these barrels here. It'll wind up going to the drill press, marking my center on these, and then going to the drill press and drilling a hole through these so these barrels can go in and get glued in place. Now, for these wooden body parts, I'm going to use a brad point bit to drill the hole through. I'll show you that in the upcoming clip. If you're going to use an acrylic body, here's an example of an acrylic body. It's basically plastic. This is a short cutoff piece I have, but just so you can see, it's a short plastic piece made out of acrylic. And so you need to use a special bit for this. Be drilling 7mm holes through these. So your 7mm drill bit brad point looks like this, whereas the acrylic bit, you can see it has a much sharper point to it for drilling acrylics. And you have to use these for drilling acrylics, otherwise you're likely to damage your workpiece here. And I've done that. What happens is I wind up where it overheats a lot, and then the piece will malform or crack. And a lot of times when I'm coming through the end here, if I'm not using acrylic bit, what will happen is I'll get a blowout or breaks apart. So acrylic bit is the best way to go if you're going to use acrylic. Now, when you go to the lathe, you're going to need to use a 7mm pen mandrel, and you'll need 3 7mm bushings. At the end of the mandrel is this mandrel saver that goes on, and it's kind of infinitely adjustable. As you bring your tailstock up, it slides up and down, so you can tighten your pieces on there. So you put the first bushing piece on, then you would put a tube on with the body on there, of course, after we drill that and get the wood on there. Then your center bushing, then your end piece of your body, and then the last bushing. And then this all gets held together with the tailstock like that, so you can turn. Works very good. Well, the instructions I downloaded off the internet. It's 2 pages of instructions that basically tell you how you need to turn and assemble it, turning instructions and assembly. Next, I will mark the centers on these pieces and then go to the drill press and drill the holes through these. Okay, to mark the ends of these pieces here to find my center for going to the drill press, I use this center finding tool, And I try to hold it onto this piece in a kind of a consistent fashion with my fingers here. And mark these lines. And I'll go around this 4 times because none of these square blocks are perfectly square, especially these that I got from scrap pieces. So I marked around there 4 times. Now you can see that there are lines between, or there are spaces between these lines where I marked. So what I'll do is take my scribe and mark center there, press a dimple in there with the scribe. That gives my drill bit a starting point to stay on center. Here's how I mark this with my scribe. Get it kind of on center, as close as I can. Doesn't have to be real perfect, but as close as you can. Get it on center, and then press this. Got myself a dimple hole there. Be careful when you do this so you don't slip and stab yourself with it. I'm going to mount up my body pieces here to drill into this jig here from Rockler, which holds pieces, square and round pieces vertically for drilling in the drill press. As you can see, it's got these grooves in here that can grasp the items square or vertical. And if you can see here, there's a hole in the middle here because this also kind of serves as a pen press of sorts. And then there's another portion of the V-groove down here, V-groove up here. So I like to make sure that I've got my bodies set down in there all the way so it's in both of these V-grooves here to keep it as straight as possible. Otherwise it can kind of get off kilt on me. Also at the bottom here, I've got this wooden piece here. That is a backer piece for when drilling through here. This backer piece will help minimize tear out in the other end of the workpiece. So to mount this up, get that in there, kind of hold it down a little bit as I tighten up this wheel. Got my workpiece in there securely. So now I'll line it up under the drill bit, and then what I like to do is to bring the drill bit down. I'm going to line it up so that the tip of the drill bit just barely gets past this blue edge here so that it's going into that backer piece there. And I'll make my drill bit stop at that point. That'll be my stop so I know when I'm through. Okay, I've got everything lined up here now, so I will start my drilling. Slow and easy, back up once in a while to clear out the chips. Periodically stop and check the temperature of your drill bit. If it's very hot, you need to stop and let it cool down a bit. I find that about 3 minutes works pretty good. Careful when you're touching that with your fingers because it takes a split second or so for your fingers to register the heat, so you don't want to burn your fingers. Okay, continue drilling. Almost through. That should be all the way through. And we have a hole all the way through it. We'll drill the other piece now. Next step here is to glue these brass tubes into these pieces we just drilled. A lot of people like to clean up the brass tubes a little bit with a little bit of sandpaper. This is like a 220 grit I'm using here. Doesn't take much to clean them up. And simply because brass, steel, whatever, will corrode a little bit, so we want to make sure they're good and clean when we glue these. I use a tube insertion tool here to hold these on. I use a medium CA glue, and I just put a little bit on the tube here, kind of spin this on and kind of push it into the end there, make sure it's flush with the ends. Same with this one for the other tube. Then I'll give these about 5 minutes to dry, and then we'll be ready to put them on the lathe, start shaping these. Next step is to take these pieces. The tubes have been glued into them after we've drilled them out. This is a barrel end trimmer. It goes into the tube and trims the end of these pieces so that they're square to the tube. So when we assemble this and put pieces together on this, none of the pieces are going to have any funny gaps on them. Everything is going to be good and square. The end of this trimmer has 2 carbide cutters on it, and they can catch if you go in too quickly on that. They can catch and break your piece on you, so you have to go slow and careful with that. Next step is I'll go to the drill press and trim up the end of these barrels so they're all square. Okay, so I've put my workpiece into the jig here for vertical drilling. Got my barrel trimmer mounted into my drill press and got it lined up so it goes right in there. So I can just start trimming this down until I see the shiny brass end on the end of the tube there. Then I know I'm down there and square. As I said, slow and easy. See the shiny end of the brass tube? So that's got it squared up there. Got 4 ends of these to do with 2 pieces, so I'll do the other 3 now. Okay, here at the lathe, got these 2 pieces that I've trimmed the barrel ends on. I'll put on the bushings onto this pen mandrel. First bushing on, then a workpiece. Second bushing on, and a workpiece. The last bushing on. Now slide up the tailstock to the end there. Lock it in place. Tighten the end a little bit to give it some tension. Snug that just a little bit. My work rest in place here. I'll have to adjust the height on this to get these angles. I want the tip of my cutting edge of my lathe chisel to be about the same height as the corner here of this when it's at like a 45-degree angle or level to my tool rest. To raise this just a little bit, it's just about right. I'll put on my face mask here and start turning. Okay, so I've got these down to a good round, and I can start shaping from here. What I'll do is work on getting these ends down to about level with the bushings on these 4 ends. And then through the middle of it here, I'll try and get a slight bow or bulge to it, rather than just being straight flat. Okay, that seems to be down to pretty good shape there. Just a slight bow on these so that they're not straight and flat. Now we'll start doing the sanding. Okay, for the sanding, I go from a 150 grit down to a 600. And after the 600, I'll use some steel wool to give it a little bit more finer, and I'll clean it off with a rag to clean the dust off. It's looking good. Normally when sanding, I would hold the sandpaper like this on top, because that way most of the sawdust goes away from it. When I'm doing it like this, it's building up and collecting a lot of sawdust on the sandpaper. This is the last grit at 600. A little bit with the steel wool. Get off the dust with a rag. Now apply some finish. I use this Balin's wood turner's finish. Got to shake this up really well, and then I will use a paper towel to apply it. Break off a piece here, fold it up a few times. Shake some on there. Start it up on a lower speed. Give that a little bit of time to dry, and then I'll do a couple more coats. Okay, we have our pen assembly press here, ready to put all these parts together. What we start out with is pressing the pen tip in to the body, then the transmission into the body. The transmission is what will hold the ink refill. Then after that, we just slip this middle ring on. Then we'll press this cap and the pocket clip into this upper body, and then these two pieces press together onto this transmission part. As you'll see as I put this together here, try to hold all these parts together here and give you a good view as I do this. This pushes the tip in, get some good alignment to try and get this thing straight. There we go. And for putting the transmission in, try to push it this way. Gotta bring this up here. So to that point, this is where I test fit this to see that the protrusion of the pen will be good. Okay, so I need to press this transmission in just a little bit more yet. Trying to finesse this here a little bit. So I don't want to push it too far by mistake. So it's a little bit of finessing. Okay, retracts all the way and extends all the way, so that's good. Next part is this band just slips onto this. Then the upper part is where we put this pocket clip. Get this in there. So it slips onto there. Then this will go into that. And press this together. Thing is trying to get these parts so that they go in straight. Don't want them to go too crooked. There we go. Okay, got that on there straight. Okay, now these pieces just slide together like that, and you have your twist pen. Now what you can do is to try and line up these woods, depending on which position you want them to line up with, is to twist it a little bit to get whatever alignment, to line up these wood grains and stuff. Whatever, suits your taste as far as that goes. So, twist pen there, and it writes pretty good. That completes this. So that's how you do a slimline pen. This is how to replace the ink refill in a slimline pen kit. You pull off these two pieces, separate, just by pulling it apart. Kind of stiff, okay, so it pulls apart. Then the refill is this part here. You unscrew that, comes out. And then to put it back in again, just back in there, screw it back in. Make sure you don't lose your middle ring here. And then these parts just push together or slide together. That's how to replace the ink refill in the slimline pens. Thank you for watching this video. If you got something out of it and you enjoyed it, please give me a like and share it with your family and friends. If you want to see what I may come up with next in the future, please subscribe. Thank you.